So, Matt Walsh has become quite popular in the last few years. You all know who he is. He, of course, rose to fame with his amazing documentary called What is a Woman, his appearance on Dr. Phil's show, and then, of course, his show on the Daily Wire. And the Daily Wire, of course, has also risen in popularity. So I'm sure you all know who Matt Walsh is. If you don't, just go on YouTube and type in Matt Walsh and start watching, and you'll know who he is. But you're going to watch this video probably, so you'll know by the end of the video who he is, if you don't already. He went to New Mexico State University, and he had some interesting interactions with some of the students there. Now, thank you all for stopping by my channel. I do appreciate everybody supporting my work, supporting what I do here, supporting the message of anti-wokeness. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed. You can find me over on Rumble, on Twitter, on BitChute, and on Odyssey. And we're going to get into a couple of videos here. Matt Walsh talking to some very delusional people. So let's take a look at that real quick here.
Hi, Matt. I'm transgender. I'm born and raised here in New Mexico.
No, you're not. You are lying. Just like you're lying about what gender you are. You are not born and raised in New Mexico. You were born and raised in Old Cleveland. That's what I have now deemed the location that we formerly knew as New Mexico. It's Old Cleveland. That's what we're going to call it from now on. And my feelings are all that really matters. My experience with the world, that's my truth. So therefore, it is going to be Old Cleveland. Everybody must agree with me. Moving on.
I have a graduate degree in information technology, marketing, business, and finance.
That's important. Marketing, business, and finance, graduate degree. That means you know what you're talking about when it comes to biology. That means it knows what you're talking about when it comes to human sociology. Okay.
I own my own home. I pay taxes. I have a 6-figure job. I'm a respected professional in Albuquerque. I'm a mother.
Oh, hell no, you're not. You cannot be a mother unless you have, the internal reproductive organs. That's how that works.
My life experience is that I'm an awesome person. I am well-liked. I'm responsible. And I think I'm pretty cool. You touched on something. You said something earlier that for you, when somebody calls you a man, it doesn't faze you because, you just know that you're a man. That was interesting to me because I feel the same way about my identity as a woman. My question leading up to this, you've asserted that no one would ever see me as a woman, that nobody would ever see or could see a transgender person as a woman.
Well, let me address this. I don't know what Matt Walsh is going to say, but I'm going to give you my opinion on this. There are all sorts of delusional people out there who would agree that you are a woman, 100%, no question, a woman. You, however, are not a woman. You are a man pretending to be this other thing, whatever that is. Because I'm sure this person can't even define what woman is. So.
And yet, I have dozens of friends from diverse backgrounds. Women from the reservation, a woman from Japan, several immigrant women. I have my coworkers, I have my boss, my VP, my CEO, all respecting me as a woman, my family.
No, this individual said respecting me as a woman. You know what that means, right? If you don't know what that means, I'll tell you right now. It means agreeing with this person's delusion and calling this person female. That's what that means.
My long-term friends who are actually here with me. All of these people assure me, I'm a woman.
They're all delusional.
They'll tell me, girl, there is no way you are a man. They see me as a woman.
Why?
So the question,
Okay.
how can you assert that nobody would ever see me as a woman when my material experience tells me you're wrong?
Okay. It's interesting that that's the part of my talk you chose to ask a question about, because that's not in my talk at all. I don't believe I said that no one would ever see you as a woman. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, that you could fool someone. Now, you brought this up, so I have to tell you that you brought this up. You've put your identity on the table for conversation. And so I'm going to say you wouldn't fool me at all. I mean, I see a man 100%. And I think that most people would. Now, the fact that you have people in your life who are saying to you, oh, you're totally a woman, it's exactly what I'm talking about. No one in my life has ever once said to me, you're totally a man, Matt. If a friend of mine called me on the phone and said, listen, Matt, I want you to know you're really a man, I would think that there was something wrong with him. I would say, why are you saying that at all? It doesn't make any sense. So the fact that this is a conversation to begin with tells me, it only proves the point that I'm trying to make, that your identity, even in your own mind, is up for, it's something that you need to be assured of.
I do want to say something fun about this here. So when I was 20, I had long hair. And as I've stated many times on this channel, I'm a small man. Now, I have very broad shoulders. For whatever reason, I have broader shoulders. At least when I was 20, I had broader shoulders than any woman I've ever met. That includes women who are taller than me. So I used to get called ma'am a lot. Being from the Midwest, it's like they just assume that if you have long hair, you're female. But it's like, dude, look at my shoulders. I mean, you do not see, like, I'm practically ripping out of my shirt when I bend my arm. Look at my chest. I mean, you can't see that. You're just going to look at somebody's head and go, oh, that's a girl. I would walk away from people. I mean, not like from like face to face, but if they were calling me, like, hey ma'am, across the store because I was working at a retail store, I would just ignore them. And then there was a little kid. I was working in a restaurant, and this little kid was like, "Mommy, is that a boy or a girl?" Yeah. So just because you have long hair doesn't make you a woman. That's what this individual seems to think. This person here clearly presents as masculine. You can put on jewelry. I mean, I like wearing bracelets. I don't wear them very often because they're not very manly, but I like wearing bracelets. You can have long hair. I had long hair. A little bit longer than this person's. Not much longer, but a little bit longer than this person's. That doesn't make you a woman. Anyway, moving on.
Now, what I would like to ask you, again, because you're standing here, and so you've brought your identity on the table for discussion. So how do you know that you're a woman?
It was first when I heard transgender persons describe their experience in their own words. And this was only about 2 years ago.
That's a big deal. Only about 2 years ago, so therefore I know, because it's fresh in my mind. Okay.
Hearing somebody describe things, it was a woman from, like, England, describing her...
From like England. Not exactly England, it was like England. So it might have been Ireland, it might have been Scotland, who knows, maybe it was Wales. Somewhere over there in that place where they speak English, but it's not part of the United States. Yeah, okay.
Her experience, her childhood, her teenage years. And it blew my mind to be listening to her, because it was just some podcast that I was listening to while I was, like, doing laundry. But it blew my mind to hear somebody so eloquently and precisely describe things that I had experienced.
What did they say?
Okay, so I am honestly hesitant. I know that you touched earlier about the difficulty that transgender women might have in describing their identity, but I want to state, I honestly don't feel that you would engage in this conversation in good faith.
Bullshit. The reason you don't want to answer is because you know he's going to tear your argument apart. And that's the thing with these people say, oh, good faith. You're not going to be acting in good faith. And somebody left a comment on one of The Last of Us reviews saying, you called out the very first scene in the show and you were just making fun of it for no good reason. This is not made in good faith. I'm like, yeah, at the end of this review, I said this was a pretty good episode. So how is this not good faith? The whole thing was done in good faith. Just because I'm pointing out one thing that I find kind of less than stellar or something I can be critical of doesn't mean that I'm going to just like find problems that aren't there. Doesn't mean anything. And this person knows that Matt Walsh is going to rip apart their belief system instead of supporting him in his delusion. So therefore, it's not going to be done in good faith.
Why are you here? Why did you stand up to talk to me if you don't want to have a conversation? You're saying that you discovered that you're a woman. I'm asking you how you did. That's a very fair question.
Okay.
How do you know that you're a woman?
That's fine. All right. So first of all, listening to transgender people. And it was like, okay, this is a one-off, one person describing these things. Things like looking at yourself in the mirror and not recognizing yourself. Hearing compliments like, you are such an example, like a positive masculine role model. And just hearing that and being like, it feels like they're talking about somebody else.
I've never had that experience before where I felt like I had imposter syndrome. That's a common experience amongst human beings, is you feel like that somebody is saying something about a person and it's not you, it doesn't fit you, because your internal world, your internal notion of who you are does not match up with what other people think of you. Okay? That's freaking practically every human being on the planet.
It means feeling alone, even when you're surrounded by guys, even when you have a lot of friends. And I was active in Boy Scouts.
Like Boy Scouts. It wasn't actually the Boy Scouts. It was It was the Girl Scouts. No, wait, no. There's a thing that is the Girl Scouts. It was the Snake Scouts. That's what it was. It was Snake Scouts.
An Eagle Scout. I had great masculine role models my whole life, and yet I never felt like I belonged. I felt welcome and included.
Why does that make you a woman?
Exactly. I never felt like I belonged in my own biological family. Oh, I must be a girl. I mean, let me cut my wiener off. Oh, I didn't fit in with my family because my family are a bunch of assholes. And I didn't want that in my life. It only makes sense. So many of these people, they think that their experience is so unique. I'm special. No, you're not. Human experience is limited to a certain number of things. It's really not that diverse. Not as diverse as these people are trying to make it out to be, where they're going, oh, look, I must be a girl. No, you're not the first person in humanity to feel like they didn't fit in.
Because
as opposed to just a man who doesn't get along with some other men, or a man who's depressed, or a man who doesn't feel at home totally in his body, which, by the way, is a pretty universal human experience. Everybody goes through it at one time or another. So in what way does that make you a woman, though? And it's interesting. You're telling me that you listen to the experiences of other transgender people.
Well, yeah.
But what about women?
So
because trans women are women, you would say, right?
I would say that. Yeah.
Exactly the same?
Yes.
Okay, well then why do you need to hear the testimony of quote unquote trans women? Like how you pick any actual woman in this room? In what way do you know that you belong in the same category as them?
I know because they tell me. So here was
You need them to tell you what you are?
I wouldn't go that route. I would go to the route of that they tell you, and how do they know what's going on inside of you? They can never possibly know your internal existence. You can pretend to be a woman. There's some famous movies, Tootsie, Mrs. Doubtfire, where a man is pretending to be a woman. This can be done, and it can be done convincingly. Doesn't mean you are that thing, though.
Women, yes. I trust the opinions of the women around me.
And if most women...
It's incredible. You might try it sometime.
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman, would you say I'm not a woman anymore?
If who?
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman anymore, would you then relent and say I'm not a woman?
I would say most people on the planet have no idea who I am. I'm going to trust the opinions of the people who've spent their lives with me.
But you are relying on other people to tell you who you are, is what we're establishing.
For context, I know you like to say everybody's rah-rahing and supporting transgender people, and yet they're still killing themselves, etc. But I'm standing here in a room full of people applauding you and asking questions like, how can I put out legislation here in New Mexico, my home state I grew up in, to try to reverse transgenderism? I'm not safe. And
How are you not safe? You just said you're standing in a room with people who disagree with you, and you're perfectly fine. So how are you not safe?
This is a big lie that they tell. They're not safe. All these trans people, I'm not safe. I'm being attacked. I'm being assaulted. Words are not violence. This has been something that we have denigrated for decades now. Don't attack gay people. Don't attack trans people, etc. Just let them be. You live your own life. Don't hurt them. Now, this person is living in a fantasy world. So this is something that I find is more common with women. I even had a teacher when I was in community college, a female teacher, say, honesty is not the most important part of communication. So that's just an anecdote. That's one person. I get that. But I mean, this is kind of par for the course, whereas women are like, feelings are much more important than they actually are. Truth doesn't matter as much as feelings do to a lot of these people. So,
okay, look, we're going round and round. You don't want to answer any of the questions. Maybe we'll end with this, because we're talking about womanhood. So people can probably shout out the question I'm going to ask you right now.
Okay.
But you know that you're a woman.
Yes.
What is that?
So gender is a social thing. It only makes sense.
I don't want to hear that. What is a woman? What is a woman?
What is a woman?
The word woman, define in the dictionary. Go.
A woman is somebody who is included and respected and seen and participates in society, recognized by other women. If you speak with women...
Circular definition.
That's whatever.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, circular definition. You can't use the word woman to define the word woman. It doesn't work that way. People tried pulling these circular definitions on me all the time, and it's like, no, that's not... You have to have a baseline understanding of the word if you're going to use it in its own definition, and then that's still wrong. But all right, we're going to move on to another video that he did, same summit. This is on his Twitter, which you can find, Matt Walsh. All right, so this person is some sort of medical professional, which is going to be interesting because, hey, look, medical professionals, they know about biology, right? And this is a man. This one does look more feminine than the other one, but it's still a man. All right, so let's take a look here.
How would you define a woman? Because you've asked other people up here to define how we would define a woman. How would you define a woman, Mr. Walsh?
An adult human female.
And how don't trans people, how doesn't a transgender woman fit that definition?
Female.
Because they're not.
Perfect answer. Not female.
They're not female. They have. You said that you are a biological male, correct?
I said I'm transgender. I might be intersex for all we know. About almost as many people in the world are transgender as intersex.
No, that's not true. There's basically nobody who is transgender. It's a made-up thing that people just think that they are. And I know that there are people who are going to correct me going, no, 0.03% of the population is trans. No. No. It's like 0.000000003% of the population is actually born in the wrong body. Because how do you explain that happening? Maybe there is a mechanism by which that happens. Maybe there is a hormonal imbalance which makes people think that they are in the wrong body. Perhaps that is the case. But I still have the question that I have to go back to. What does it feel like to be a woman? What does it feel like to be a man? Without a frame of reference, you cannot describe those things. And even if you're trans, you don't have a frame of reference on those things. You have a frame of reference as to how the world treats you if you presented as a man and then presented as a woman to the outside world. But that doesn't tell you the internals at all.
And
Well,
a lot of people don't know.
well, but that's a different conversation. Intersex, that's a genetic anomaly. That's a medical condition. So that's a completely different conversation. That's also that's not a third gender. That's a genetic anomaly that occurs within the sex binary of male and female.
Now, I would argue that colloquially, we might say that an intersex and hermaphrodite is a third gender, and we might say that a trans person is a fourth gender. Just colloquially. I'm not saying that would be any sort of legitimate definition, but like in everyday speech, we might refer to those as different genders. And I think that's perfectly acceptable, just so we understand the difference between an actual biological male, biological female, somebody who's born intersex, somebody who is pretending to be the opposite gender.
So what you're saying is that a quote-unquote trans woman is a female?
By the definitions I'm familiar with, yes.
So how would you define female?
Through my training in healthcare, there are several different categories for how we define sex. People bring up chromosomes. People also bring up hormone levels. People bring up all sorts of other categories.
Hormone levels, really. Hormone levels. All right, so if we got a girl and we give her so much testosterone that she maintains a testosterone level of 500, which is higher than mine, by the way, is that person now a male? No. That person is not a male just because they have that much testosterone pumping through their system. It's not how it works.
Lots of people don't fit neatly into a gender binary, even people we don't consider to be.
Define lots. Who are these lots of people that don't fit neatly into a gender binary? Because last I checked, the actual number for hermaphrodites is, it's like 0.03%. It's a small percentage. They want to say that it's 1.7%, but that's a false statistic, supposedly. I mean, if you count the number of people in the world and you say 0.03 or 0.3, whatever it is, how many people is that? That's a lot of people. That's millions of people, right? But it's not a big percentage, so.
Intersex. It's a complicated spectrum.
It's not complicated, but you also didn't define. So what is a woman? What is a female? What do these words mean?
It's complicated, and I know you're not going to like that answer, but that's because there are no simple answers in human biology.
Let me ask you a question.
You guys,
Can I ask you one last question?
just let me finish. You guys like to bring up high school level biology classes a lot. I get that a lot, but people who go on to more complicated biology classes will talk about sex as a spectrum.
It's not. It's not.
Well, biological researchers would disagree with.
Biological researchers are idiots then. How come we don't see more homosexuality amongst animals? How come it's rare? It's more rare amongst animals than it is amongst humans. Is it maybe because it's a made-up thing to a lot of people, at least?
With you.
Well, and they're full of shit, the ones that would say that. There are...
All right.
There are male gametes and female gametes. Oh, I had one last question. I just had one. I had one quick. Can you come back for 1 second? Because this is an important question. You said you're an EMT.
Yes.
Okay, if you're responding to a health emergency. Biological male, somebody with a penis, is having a medical emergency, and they say to you, "I think I'm having a miscarriage." Would you check them to see if they're having a miscarriage? Would you consider that a possibility for them?
And the whole room is starting to murmur because they know that Matt Walsh has this individual. There's nothing that this person can say at this point.
No, but that's because some people don't have body parts. Doesn't mean they're not a woman.
Okay.
You develop these body parts as you're growing into your gender at the same time. They come hand in hand.
Sounds like we've established there are some people who, in principle, can get pregnant, and there are some people who can't. So there's two categories, otherwise known as binary.
Lots of women can't get pregnant either.
Yeah, but they're still of the nature to get pregnant. The only
But
reason
they can't get pregnant.
Yes, but
truth matters, right?
It does. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Truth matters, and they can't get pregnant. That's the truth. So how are they still women?
Because they are for the same reason that I can rightly say that human beings have two legs. And if a person is born with only one leg, that doesn't call into question the statement that human beings have two legs, okay? A person being born with one leg doesn't mean that now legs are on a spectrum and we can't say anything at all about how many legs a person has. Who knows? They could be a centipede. You know, they could have 100 legs. No, we know human beings have two legs. If a human is born without two legs, something went wrong. They were supposed to have that second leg. Something went wrong. If you meet a person on the street who only has one leg, maybe they had an accident. Maybe they were in war. Maybe they were in a car accident. Maybe they had cancer. A leg was cut off. But you know that something went wrong because by their nature, they're supposed to have two legs. Same thing for a woman. A woman by her nature can get pregnant. A man by his nature never can. So if you meet a woman of childbearing age, say she's 28 years old, and she can't get pregnant, you know automatically that something has gone wrong. And she can go to the doctor and find out what that thing is, even if they can't fix it. So that proves that women by their nature can get pregnant because the simple fact that she can't shows you that there's something wrong. This is what is known as the exception that proves the rule. Whereas if a male with a penis can't get pregnant, no doctor on earth is going to run tests to see what's wrong with him. Because they already know it's that he's a male, and there's only male and female, those who can get pregnant and those who can't. So, that's it.
All right, and so that's the end of that. Very, very good representation of the points that we need to consider when we're talking about this situation here. Men and women there's two. There's man, there's woman. They're different. They have different functions, different roles. Can men take on the position of a female in society? Yes. Can women take on the position of a male in society? Yes. But that does not mean that sex is on a spectrum, that gender is on a spectrum. It doesn't mean any of that. I do thank everybody for watching, getting this far into the video. Next week, I am going to be going back to campus with a full load of classes, so expect there to be a missed video somewhere in there. I'm supposed to be on campus 15 days, 13 days this month, which you might be like, well, that's not that many, but, you know, that doesn't leave me much time when I'm driving back and forth. So hopefully I don't miss any videos, but don't be surprised if I do. And again, thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next one.